Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to the Board Gaming Breakfast live stream. Whoop whoop. Happy Wednesday, everybody. All right, we got our 3 videos all lined up for today. I will throw on my glasses and we will get this show on the road. All right, today we are following the same script as normal. All right. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the board game, Lands of Galzyr, and I'm going to be highlighting a few of the mechanics in the game that make it such an enjoyable experience for me. So a quick overview of the game is that Lands of Galzyr is more of like a storytelling, choose-your-own-adventure style game that you can play up to 1 to 4 players. And the cool part about it is you can play it cooperatively or competitively. And I won't be going over a full rules teach today, but I'll be highlighting some of the elements that they've inserted into the game that I find to be very unique and make this the most accessible storytelling, narrative-driven game, in my opinion. And these are the factors of the game that make me enjoy it so much. So in the base game, there's 4 characters that you'll get, and as the game progresses, you'll get to modify your stats, which will stay the same play to play no matter who's playing the character. And it's not a campaign, it's just a game after game where you'll set up, and I believe you play for like between 8 to 10 rounds or something like that, depending on the player count. Let's double check that really quick. So sorry, between 5 to 8 rounds, depending on player count, of which it plays up to 4. And the previous game, no matter who plays it, will impact the rest of the game because the items that you'll collect will stay with the character. The interactions that you have with the board, there's these cards that get placed out onto the different sections of the board that, as you interact with them, will change them. And there's this big card deck that, as certain things interact with the board, the imprint of your previous games will sit within the board, and you don't have to know any of those previous interactions to understand that it's changed. So you could come in blind to the game and play one setting, and it may not matter that we've built a building in this area, because that doesn't matter to you. What matters to you is that you get to actually play with access to that building. And so I think that's really cool how the board state has this ever-growing life to it that can be entered in and played by anyone playing the game. Another part that I find cool is that you'll play, every play of it counts as a different season. And in the summer months, you have it nice and warm, but as it gets colder and more into the winter months, you actually have a different art on the backside, which I think was a really cool twist to add into the game, because the backsides of the cards could have all just been like a land tile, but they added that little touch to it to really allow you to jump into the theme. And the last thing I want to talk about is how cool how accessible the interactions with the campaign are. So it's played off of an app, and the basic principles of the game is you will, on your turn, move up to 3 spaces and interact with something on the board. And when you interact with it, you'll read out the number that the place you're interacting with. It's a 4-digit number for where you're going to interact. And then someone else that you're playing with will pull up the app and read you the narrative. And when it comes into a skill check related thing, they will give you options of, you could do a easy might or a medium knowledge, and each skill check has 3 tiers of challenge, with easy, medium, and hard, and that relates to how many symbols that you need to roll on your skill dice. And so easy means you need to roll 1 of that matching symbol, medium is 2, hard is 3, and on the skill check you'll roll up to 5 dice, but your skill attributes will allow you to roll those special colored dice, which give you the ability to roll that symbol associated with it a lot easier. And so I don't think there's anything that is like clearly break the world in crazy about like the concepts in this game, but the ability for them to integrate the ever living story into the game without having that need for everyone to experience the previous events in the game, I find to be really unique and cool, as well as the ease of the skill checks of kind of the push your luck, knowing if you want to try and it's an easy skill check, but maybe try and roll 3 stars or 3 of the sword symbols because you'll get a better bonus, is sort of a fun way to handle skill checks in a speedy way. So those are my 2 favorite parts about Lands of Galzyr. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you think of the game. And I hope you have a good one. All right, we are video 1 down. Got to pull up our timer for the next one and turn on our tablets. Bink. All right, let's make sure we're screen sharing. Accept. Accept. Come on, buddy, you can do it. Oh, screen sharing is no longer sharing. Let's check our cloud settings, storage, check sync. Right back in the live stream. Stop sharing here. All right, boom. All right, we are sharing. We are ready for the next video. All right. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and in today's video, we're gonna sneeze and start over. Hi, my name is Sam, and in today's video, we are going to be taking the board game Lands of Galzyr and going through the brainstorming process of adding a random game mechanic into it. So if we switch over in OBS here, you should see, once my mouse works, in the top right, a wheel of mechanics. And we'll start over because everything's not showing. All right, time for take 3. Third time's the charm. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and in today's video, we're going to be taking the game Lands of Galzyr and going through the brainstorming process of adding a random game element into it. And so if we go into our screen over here, in the top right of the screen, we have a spinning wheel with 60 different game mechanics added to it from Board Game Geek. And so I'm going to spin it, and whatever mechanic the wheel lands on, our challenge will be to add that into the game Lands of Galzyr in 5 minutes or less. And so we have bingo. So bingo is our mechanic. And we are trying to add that into Lands of Galzyr. And so we will pull up our timer app on our phone. We will start that timer and see where our brainstorming takes us. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with the game, a quick overview is that it is a narrative, immersive storytelling game that on your turn you will move and interact with a setting on the board by reading out the event and interacting with it. And whenever you do skill checks, you'll roll a specific amount of dice. And I think the way we would add the bingo element into this game is that there would be a deck of bingo cards that have a 5x5 grid, like classic bingo, with the middle one being free. I don't know why this isn't, I guess I got to stay here. And we'll make that a little bigger. But everyone would get one of these bingo cards from the deck at the start of the game, and they would be randomly populated with different symbols that you can roll on the dice. So those would be the eyeballs. Maybe there's a single eye over here. There's a sword element here. And so those would be on each of the squares, and that would be fully populated onto this bingo card. And so throughout the game, when you roll your skill check dice, any dice that you aren't using for the skill check can be used to mark off different symbols on your bingo board. And once the game is over, you'll get an extra prestige point for every row or column that you have managed to fill in the game. So you have the potential to get 10, 11, 12 extra prestige points if you've blacked out the entire or covered the entire board. And so I think that would be how I would go about adding a bingo element into Lands of Galzyr. And so how I'd go about testing this and bringing this concept from just a drawn concept into a feasible way to test it at the table is I would go into Illustrator and create some of those bingo sheets based off of all these symbols, and then I would probably have that symbology randomly arranged on the board, and I would make maybe 4 of them or 5 of those, 4 or 5 of those different sheets. And the next time we played Lands of Galzyr, I would I only play with Michaela, so I would ask my fiance Michaela if she'd be willing to try this bingo element to see how what in the game that changes or makes different. And if she agrees to entertaining me with this concept, I would go over the rules of at the end of each skill check, any dice not used to complete the skill check can be used to mark off your bingo sheet. And then we would play a game of Galzyr with this house rule. So that would be my step-by-step process to getting bingo into Lands of Galzyr. I'm going to pause the timer so it doesn't scare me and conclude with saying, so that was the way that I figured out how to add in the bingo element to Lands of Galzyr. If you have an alternative thought on how you think there would be a different way that potentially could be successful to adding bingo into the game, I'd love to hear that in the comments below. And if you like this style of brainstorming ideation around board games, I release these type of videos every Wednesday, so please subscribe so you don't miss one. Have a good one. Alright, Lands of Galzyr can be put away. Ugh. So for those of you watching live or rewatching the broadcast, you'll hear this but won't hear in the video, that the reason Lands of Galzyr is in our collection and has replaced games like Sleeping Gods and other narrative storytelling style games is because it takes like 2 to 3 minutes to set up the game. The global save state section in the box makes it super easy to pull the game out and get set up. And the ease of the ease of setup and teardown allows you to spend the majority of the time just reading and interacting with the immersive narrative. And so It takes about like an hour and a half for the two of us to play, and that's with 7 turns a piece. And so it's definitely earned that top spot for us as our go-to narrative game. And so it's fun. They also have an achievement sheet in it. I didn't put that stuff away, but they have an achievement sheet. So when you interact with certain sections of the story, you'll unlock these. The app will show you an achievement that you get to end up filling in, which I also think is a really cool, rewarding system for those that like to play through the game multiple times. And so we've probably logged maybe 10 plays of it at this point, and we've only had 2 repeats of storyline events. And I don't think either of us had, I think Michaela had each of them once and I had each of them once. So there's not a ton, there's a lot of content to keep it fresh so you're not going through the motions and knowing how to interact with the different events. So that's my little hidden Easter egg of additional thoughts for those of you who are watching live or rewatching the broadcast. But now we will get set up for our last video of the day. Boop, boop, boo. Boo, doo, doo, boop, 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 boo. Anyone play Zoombinis as a kid? Alright, last video. Here we go. That's set up. That's set up. That's set up. Alright. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and in today's video, we are going to be brainstorming a game concept off of a randomly generated prompt in 5 minutes or less. So for those of you who are new to this style of video, we have our handy dandy game idea generator over here up in the right. And so this is found at letsmakeagame.net. They have under their tools section their game idea generator tool, which will, when we click the generate button, will provide us a genre, rule, setting, and theme for us to design around. And so what will happen is after I click the generate, I'll set my timer for 5 minutes. And when the 5 minutes are up, I will finish whatever thought we're stuck on if we're we haven't fully come up with a concept. And then we will recap where we got in this design process and talk about the steps that I would take to go from this concept to get it to a playable state to playtest it. Because that's one of the most critical parts of any game design concept, is to get it to a point where it can actually be played as a game. So with that rambling out of the way, we will generate. And so our genre we got was stealth. Our rule was build the level you play. The setting was science fiction, and the theme is comedy. And so, funny enough, for those of you who follow religiously, we kind of did a stealth build level as you play concept yesterday. So, do we keep it the same or do we pivot? Let's pivot. Our genre is board game. Our rule is 2 button controls. Our setting is World War, and our theme is war. Alright, we're doing 3 rules, and then we're gonna stop at whatever the next one is. Alright, so we got a card game, Death is Good, setting is simulated reality, and the theme is technology gone nuts. Alright, that's we had 3 chances, and that was what we ended up with, so we're going with this one. So we've set the timer for 5 minutes, and we have a card game, Death is Good, simulated reality, technology gone nuts. So the first couple things I think of are an inverse of Exploding Kittens, where you reverse the concept of not wanting to blow up to be the one to control the blow up. We'll give ourselves a few more seconds to try and think of some concept better, or else we're gonna get stuck in ripping off Exploding Kittens for this concept. Card game, Death is Good. So I'd say it's probably like a reverse old maid. That's sort of what we'll go with. So in the typical old maid style game, everyone has their hand of cards. And so we'll do the constructs of this being a 50 card deck or 52 card deck that people are playing with. So we'll print out a few more hands. And so then, so everyone is dealt a hand, and then there's one card that is the the device that's going to end up killing you, but in this setting it's good. So I guess if it's a virtual reality, the theme of it would be that the theme would be that to progress to the next level, you have to die in the previous level to level up your character. I don't know. That's what we're gonna go with for this thought. But the whole, not gimmick, but each card would have an ability that can fire. So in Old Maid, you're discarding pairs as you get them, and the turn structure would be taking a card from the player to your left, and then if you have a pair, you get to discard them, and you do that until one person gets stuck with the Old Maid. And so in Old Maid, you don't want to get stuck with it. So this one, you would want to get stuck with it. And so the way to level up this play experience is there would be potentially this cheat sheet of if you had pairs, it does this action, triples does this action, run does that action, 3 of the same suit does that action. What other things could we do? 2 even, 2 odd, maybe not those. So on your turn, you get to draw a card from someone, or pick a card from the player to your right, and then you get to perform one of these actions on it. Maybe, I don't know. How does that sound? Doesn't sound like a game I'd enjoy playing, but let's try and make it better then. So Old Maid is traditionally more of a kid style game, so we probably don't want to make it too complex. But how? So maybe the cards themselves, instead of having a cheat sheet, would have 2 actions associated with them. So if this was the Queen of Spades, it would have, it does, if with a king, it would do this. If it was with a 2, or maybe we'll do a heart, it does that. And so I don't think in this 5-minute window we'll have time to come up with those events, but let's draw upside down. Oh god, that's not a good spade. All right, the timer has gone off. So let's wrap up this thought. So we have queen, we have 2 actions, and all right. So to recap, our challenge for today was to create a card game where death is good and it's in a simulated reality and technology gone nuts. And so our initial thought was this sounds like the reverse of Exploding Kittens, but we kind of pivoted slightly and went to doing the reverse of Old Maid. And so we got to, the whole goal is to be the one that has the Old Maid card in their hand by the time, so that you want the card instead of not wanting the card. And the game ends when either the only card you have left is the Old Maid, or when another player runs out of cards. And so the turn structure would be pick a card from the player to your right, and then you would get to play a card style action. And so each card would have an ability if it's matched with a particular number or a particular value, and then they would have an ability if they were matched with a particular suit, and then you would get to play the pair down to take that action. And we didn't get to the point where we'd come up with the different actions, so that would be the remaining steps that I would need to take for to like complete it. So the way I would set it up is I'd probably go into an Excel sheet and figure out what values get paired off with other values, and so I'd pair them off, and then I would figure out, or I'd probably have all of the spades pair with a heart, all of the clubs pair with a diamond, all of the diamonds pair with a spade, and all the hearts pair with a club. I'd probably create whatever, so it'd be club, heart, spade, diamond. And so clubs want to be with hearts, hearts want to be with spades, spades want to be with diamonds, and diamonds want to be with clubs would probably be the activation setting. So once we have all those paired off, that would be, for the sake of the game, fairly balanced. And then we'd have to figure out what actions are associated with each of the cards. And so I'd start with just designing or coming up with 26 different actions and treat all of the, or maybe start with 17. So you'd have one unique for each of the top ones, and then there'd be a unique for just all of the bottom of the suit. So there'd be all of the heart suit actions would be the same, all of the diamond, club, spades, etc. And so I'd have to come up with those 17 actions, and then I would quickly build this out on Illustrator or some other design platform, and then I would print them out and cut them up and sleeve them within a sleeved deck of playing cards and test out the mechanic. We'd have to figure out, maybe we'd remove aces from the game, or not remove aces, but one of the aces we designate as the value card that you want to end up with, which there would be you want even playing count. So in a 4-player game, there would be 3 of them. In a 3-player game, there'd be 2 of them. And in a 1-player or 2-player game, there'd be 1 of them. And the aces would probably be discard and pick again, is probably how I would set that up to balance it so everyone gets even amounts of cards. And then I would test out our game concept. So that will do it for today's video. I'd love to hear in the comments below if you had a more intuitive concept for this prompt. We kind of got stuck off of one idea and ran with it, which is okay because we got it to a point where we could talk through where it was playable. But I'd love to hear the other concepts that you came from this prompt in the comments below. And if you like these brainstorming style videos, they go live every Friday, so please subscribe so you don't miss one. I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye, all.